It was a Tuesday morning. Cold, clear light coming in through the window above the sink. My coffee had gone lukewarm, and I was standing at the counter half listening to a podcast when the email arrived. Subject line, Wedding Budget Help, from Josh. I stared at it. Not because it was unexpected. Josh had been with Lauren for years, and I knew they'd been planning a spring wedding. But because of who was asking and what he was asking for. He wanted help. Financial help. My little brother. The same brother who didn't show up to my wedding 3 years ago. I didn't open the email right away. I stood there, fingers hovering over the trackpad, heart pacing faster than I wanted it to. And then I closed the laptop. My wife, Erica, found me there 20 minutes later, still holding the same cup of coffee. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. Lied. Yeah. Just zoning out. But I wasn't zoning out. I was spiraling. The memory of that day, the silence, the empty chair, the pit in my stomach when I realized he really wasn't coming, it came back like a punch. Josh hadn't just skipped my wedding. He hadn't called. Hadn't written. Not before, not after. Just absence. And now he wanted money. That night, I finally opened the email. "Hey man. Hope you and Erica are well. I know it's been a while. Lauren and I are planning to get married this May, and we've hit a bit of a wall with the budget. We've both been saving, but with the venue costs and everything else, we're stretched pretty thin. I was wondering if you might be willing to help. No pressure, I know it's a big ask. Even a loan would help us bridge the gap. I know we haven't talked much lately. I miss you. I know I haven't said that, but it's true. I think about that a lot. Let me know. Josh." I read it twice. Then a third time. Erica came into the room, saw the screen, and just said quietly, "Wow." I didn't say anything. Just closed the laptop again. I didn't sleep much that night. The last time I saw Josh in person, we were standing in my parents' backyard during a cookout, maybe 2 months before my wedding. He had a beer in hand, sunglasses on, and he was telling a story, something dumb about his roommate locking himself out, and everyone was laughing. Everyone but me. We hadn't fought, not directly. But he'd been distant. Missing my calls. Canceling on dinner. I kept giving him the benefit of the doubt. He was busy, he was working weekends, Lauren had a new job. But there was something under all of it. A stiffness. I remember pulling him aside that day. "Hey, you got a minute?" He looked annoyed, but followed me toward the side of the house. "You're still coming, right?" I asked. He hesitated just long enough. "Yeah, of course. I told you, I've got the time off." "Okay. Just checking. You haven't RSVP'd." "I will. Just been slammed." It felt off. But I let it go. He didn't come. The morning of the wedding, Erica asked if I'd heard from him. I told her I hadn't. Told myself he'd show up. Told myself he'd at least text. Nothing. That night, my mom made excuses. Said he must have gotten sick. Said he was probably feeling weird about something. I didn't respond. He didn't reach out after. Not for a day. Not for a week. Not even when our daughter was born 6 months later. And now he wants help. 3 days passed before I responded. I wrote and deleted 5 different drafts. One was short and cold. Another was painfully formal. One had way too much sarcasm. Another turned into a novel-length account of every slight and hurt I'd buried over the years. Erica read 2 of them and just said, "It depends on what you want out of this." I didn't know what I wanted. A part of me wanted to unload. Another part wanted to ignore him forever. And then there was the quiet, unwelcome corner of my heart that just missed my brother. Missed what we used to be. We were close once. Closer than most siblings, I think. He was the kid who followed me around when we were little. Who made me a mix CD when I got dumped in high school? Who once took the fall for a broken vase because I was already on thin ice with our dad? We shared a room until I left for college. I taught him how to shave. He taught me how to download music illegally. I couldn't reconcile that kid with the man who ghosted my wedding. But they were both him. Eventually, I sent a reply. Josh. I got your message. I need a little time to think about this. It's not that I don't want to help, but I also think we have some things to talk about before money gets involved. I've carried around a lot of hurt since my wedding. You not being there and not even saying anything that left a scar. I think we both know it. Maybe we should talk first. Face to face. You around this weekend? He replied within the hour. I am. Saturday okay? It was. I didn't tell my parents we were meeting. I didn't want to give them any hope or worry. I told Erica I wasn't expecting anything. That it was probably going to be tense, maybe even ugly. She said, then don't make it about right or wrong. Make it about clarity. I met Josh at a coffee shop halfway between our apartments. He looked older. Not bad, just a little more tired around the eyes. His hair was longer than I remembered. He was wearing a denim jacket I recognized from college. We hugged. Briefly. Neither of us sat right away. We stood in line, ordered, avoided eye contact. Once we sat down with our drinks, the silence stretched long. He started. I wasn't sure you'd come. I shrugged. You weren't sure about my wedding either. He winced. I deserve that. Another silence. I want to explain, he said. I want to hear it, I said, and surprised myself by meaning it. He took a breath. I was a mess back then. Lauren and I had broken up. She didn't want to go. Said it was too weird. My job was falling apart. I was drinking more than I should have been. I felt like a failure, and the idea of standing next to you all cleaned up, in love, stable, it just made me feel worse. It was selfish. And I knew that. But instead of telling you, I froze. And then the day came in. I panicked. I stared at my coffee. My jaw was tight. You could have called afterward. I know. You could have shown up for my kid. He swallowed. I was ashamed. And the longer I waited, the harder it got. I grieved you, I said quietly. I buried you. He looked up. His eyes were red. I didn't know how to come back, he whispered. But I never stopped missing you. We didn't say much after that. We just sat there, the air between us full of things still unsaid, but with a little more room to breathe. That night, I told Erica everything. She didn't say what I expected. She said, I wonder if you'll ever fully trust him again. I said, I don't know. She said, but that doesn't mean you have to shut the door. And I didn't. Not yet. I went to bed that night not knowing if I was going to help him. But I also knew something had shifted. That matters. My mother called on Sunday evening, which was strange in itself. She usually texted first to ask if we were free. That night, she just called. Erica was bathing our daughter, and I was cleaning up dinner when the phone buzzed. I picked up and said, Hey, everything okay? She jumped in before I could even sit down. I just got off the phone with Josh. He told me you two met. I leaned back against the counter. Yeah. We did. There was a pause, and then her voice turned a little too hopeful. That's good, right? I mean, it's been so long. I always hoped you two would work things out. I didn't respond. She took that as an opening anyway. He didn't mean to hurt you, you know. He's just always had trouble facing things. He shuts down. Ever since he was a kid. I had to stop myself from laughing. That's not a character quirk, Mom. He abandoned me. He made a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And then another one. And another. She went quiet. I softened. I'm not saying this because I want to hold a grudge. I just need you to understand what it felt like. What it still feels like. She said something I didn't expect. You know, he used to cry when you left for college. Didn't want anyone to see, but he'd go up to his room and shut the door. You were his person. It hit me in the chest. That old ache. I was a kid, Mom. I didn't ask for that. I know, she said. But I think maybe he never learned how to be okay without you. The words landed somewhere between pity and guilt. I didn't know what to do with them. Later that night, Erica said, "Your mom means well. But she always rushes to smooth over discomfort instead of sitting in it. She wants the family picture. Not the truth." Erica looked at me. Maybe it's not about truth or lies. Maybe it's just different versions of hurt. I didn't respond to Josh's email right away. He hadn't followed up, which I appreciated. But it sat there in my inbox like an unopened gift or a ticking bomb, depending on how you looked at it. Instead, I started digging through old boxes. There was one in the hall closet I hadn't opened since we moved in, full of things from our childhood. Yearbooks. Photo albums. Notes. A DVD of a road trip we took to the mountains when we were both in college. Josh had filmed most of it. There was a part where he zoomed in on my face while I was eating chips in the back seat and narrated, in his best documentary voice, "Here we see the elusive older brother, retreating into his natural habitat, sarcasm and sour cream." I laughed out loud. Erica peeked in. "You okay?" "Yeah. Just watching the past." She sat next to me. I played another clip. This one was him at a gas station, dancing awkwardly next to a rack of sunglasses. We were both 19 and stupid and happy. "He really loved you," she said softly. "Still does, maybe. In his way." I didn't know what I was supposed to do with that. The next week, my parents invited us over for dinner. Just us and them, no extended family, no excuses. I debated not going. I was tired of being the stable one, the peacekeeper, the person who made everyone else's comfort the center of the room. But I went. Because I wanted to see if anything had really changed. When we got there, everything was perfectly normal. Too normal. Like they'd set the scene to look like forgiveness had already happened. Josh wasn't there. We sat down to eat. My mom passed the salad. My dad told a story about their neighbor's runaway dog. Erica nodded along, polite as always. I mostly pushed food around my plate. Halfway through dinner, my mom said, "So, I was thinking, maybe we could all help out a little with the wedding. Just as a family gift." I looked up. There it was. I said, "He asked me for help." Directly. My dad cleared his throat. "That's big of him." "No," I said. "It's desperate. He wants to get married, and he doesn't have the means, and now he's crawling back." My mom flinched. "That's unfair." Erica squeezed my knee under the table. I took a breath. "You want me to help. You want me to act like nothing happened. But you weren't there when I opened that RSVP and saw no response. You didn't stand at the altar and wonder why your brother, your best friend, didn't show up." Nobody said anything for a while. Then my dad said, "Would it help to know he's trying?" I said, "Would it help to know I still don't trust him?" We left shortly after. No one yelled. But no one hugged goodbye either. Back at home, Erica sat beside me on the couch. Neither of us said anything for a while. Finally, I said, "I don't know if helping him would be healing, or just enabling." She nodded. "Maybe it's both." The next few days were filled with a kind of ambient static, that emotional white noise that hums under the surface when something's unresolved. I went to work, came home, did the bedtime routine with our daughter. I answered emails. I made small talk with neighbors. But underneath it all, I kept turning over one question: what would helping Josh actually mean? It wasn't about the money. Not really. I could afford to lend it. It wouldn't wreck us. But I didn't know if giving it would feel like generosity or like betrayal of my own pain. Erica and I sat on the porch one evening after putting our daughter to bed. It was one of those soft early fall nights where the air still held warmth from the day, and the sound of crickets filled the pauses in conversation. "I'm not angry the way I used to be," I said. "But I still remember what it felt like to stand there and realize he wasn't coming." Erica sipped her tea. "Maybe that's not something you ever stop remembering. Maybe the question isn't whether it's fair to forgive, but whether it's worth it." I nodded slowly. I don't want to pretend it didn't hurt. But I also don't want to carry it forever. She put her hand over mine. "Then maybe it's not about whether he deserves it. Maybe it's about who you want to be now." That night, I couldn't sleep. I got out of bed around midnight, went to the kitchen, and opened the drawer where we kept old cards and letters. There was one from Josh, from when I graduated college. Scrawled handwriting, a little messy, full of swearing and inside jokes. The last line read, "You always make it look easy. I hope you know how much I look up to you." I'd forgotten about that. I put it back in the drawer. But I didn't close it. The next day, I sent him a message. "Can we meet again? Just talk. No wedding stuff." He replied almost instantly. "Of course. When?" We picked a Thursday evening. He came to my place. Erica took our daughter to visit a friend so we could talk alone. It felt strange, seeing him in my house again after so long. He looked around like it was a museum. "You've done well," he said, almost shyly. I shrugged. "We've tried." We sat in the living room. I gave him a beer. We didn't clink bottles. After a while, I said, "You hurt me. But I'm also not the same person I was back then." He looked at me, eyes steady. "Neither am I." We talked. Really talked. About our parents, about growing up, about how we were both taught to avoid conflict by pretending it didn't exist. About how silence became our language. He said, "I didn't think you'd want me there. At the wedding. I thought I'd ruined everything already." I said, "I did want you there. Even if I didn't know how to say it." He looked down. "I've missed so much." "You have. And I'm scared I'll keep missing things if I don't fix it now." "I can't tell you how to fix it," I said. "But I can tell you it won't be with money." He nodded. "I figured. But I also know what it's like to want something you're not sure you deserve." We sat in that for a long time. Then I said something I hadn't planned to say. "If I help, it won't be alone. It'll be a gift. But I'm not ready to say yes. I just need you to know that I'm thinking about it. Really thinking." He didn't push. He just said, "Thank you. Even that means more than you know." When he left, he hugged me. Not a quick, awkward one. A real one. And I let him. Erica came home late, kissed me on the forehead, and asked, "How'd it go?" I said, "He's still my brother." She nodded. "And you?" "I'm still deciding." A week passed. Then another. I didn't make a decision. Part of me kept waiting for something external to decide for me, a sign, a deadline, a shift in the wind that would make it all clear. But none came. Just regular life, with its quiet repetitions. Our daughter learning how to pronounce spaghetti properly. Erica reading on the couch with her feet on my lap. A leaky faucet I finally remembered to fix. In the in-between moments, I thought about Josh. About what it meant to help him. Not just with money, but with presence, with trust, with space. I thought about what it cost to carry resentment. What it cost to put it down. One night, I opened the Notes app on my phone and wrote out 2 lists. Reasons to help Josh. He's my brother. He's trying. I have the means. It could bring closure or a new beginning. Erica supports it, even if she stays quiet. Reasons not to. He disappeared when I needed him most. He hasn't earned it. I don't owe him. I might resent it after. Maybe this is still about guilt, not healing. I stared at the lists. They didn't answer anything. Just sat there like 2 sides of a coin still spinning. Josh texted a few days later. No pressure, just checking in. We're trying to finalize numbers for the venue. I understand either way, really. Just wanted to say that. Hope you're all doing okay. It was gracious. Too gracious, almost. Like he didn't want to risk pushing me further away. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I asked Erica, would you feel differently if it were your sibling? She thought for a while. I think I'd feel trapped. Like whatever I chose would be wrong to someone. To them, to me, to the version of myself that still hurts. Exactly. But, she said, I'd also know the difference between a decision I regret and a decision I resent. That stuck with me. A few days later, my dad stopped by. Unannounced, which was unusual. He brought a box of plums from their garden. Sat down at the kitchen table like he was delivering bad news. We don't talk about feelings much in our family, he said. Notice that, yeah. He smiled weakly. But I wanted to say something. You've been carrying this whole thing. You always have. Ever since you were kids. You made the schedules, you kept the peace, you remembered the birthdays. And I think somewhere along the line, we just let you. I was stunned. Why are you telling me this now? He looked down at the table. Because I realized you might say no to Josh. And if you do, I want you to know I'll still be proud of you. That it's okay to have limits. Even with family. I felt something catch in my chest. Like a knot I didn't know was there had just loosened. I haven't decided yet, I said. He nodded. Whatever you choose, it'll be from a place of love. I believe that. Before he left, he took a plum from the box and said, these were Josh's favorite, you know. He used to sneak them before they were ripe. We both smiled. That night, I sat down and drafted a message to Josh. I didn't send it. Just needed to write it. Josh. I've been thinking about what helping you would mean. Not just financially, but emotionally. It's not easy to unstick old wounds. Some days I feel ready. Some days I don't. I want to believe this is a turning point for us. Not because it erases what came before, but because maybe we're finally being honest with each other. About who we are now. About who we were. I'm not ready to say yes. But I'm not ready to say no either. I sat with that for a long time. Then I closed the laptop. Sometimes, just naming the weight lets you carry it differently. The night after I wrote that draft to Josh, I dreamt we were back in the old house, our childhood home. We were in the basement playing Nintendo, and he kept beating me at every game. I got frustrated. He laughed and said, "You always take things too seriously." When I woke up, my pillow was damp. Not tears exactly, but close. Memory sweat. Grief that seeps sideways. I didn't send the message. But I couldn't stop thinking about it either. That weekend, we went to the park. Our daughter wanted to fly a kite. Erica held the spool while I helped her run across the open field. She laughed so hard when the kite caught air, I thought I might cry. Erica looked at me, smiling. "You're good with her." I nodded. I want to give her what we didn't get. What's that? Permission to be messy. To be imperfect. To say I'm not okay and still be loved. Erica kissed my shoulder. You're doing that. Even if it's slow. The next day, I ran into Lauren at a grocery store. It was awkward at first. We'd never been particularly close, but we always got along. She looked tired but happy. She said, "Josh told me he saw you. That you talked." "Yeah. We did." She nodded. "I didn't tell him to reach out. I want you to know that. It was his idea. All of it." I figured. She hesitated. Then added, "He's different lately. Quieter. I think he's still carrying a lot." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean guilt?" "Guilt, sure. But also the fear that it's too late to matter." That hit harder than I wanted it to. "He's not who he was," she said. "I'm not either." We stood in that small truth for a while. She said, "We're keeping it simple. The wedding. No DJ. No favors. Just people who mean something." I nodded. "That sounds right." Then she did something unexpected. She hugged me. A brief, unpolished embrace. "I'm glad you're talking," she said. "No matter how it ends." That night, I went for a walk. I passed a corner where Josh and I had once gotten into a fistfight. We were maybe 12. He threw a rock at my bike. I shoved him. He bloodied my lip. We both got grounded. That memory should have made me angry, but it didn't. It made me smile. Because the next day, we shared a grilled cheese and watched cartoons like nothing happened. Kids forgive differently. Adults don't forget as easily. But maybe they can still return. I came home, sat at the dining room table, and stared at the last message Josh had sent. I didn't open it again. I remembered the words by heart. Erica sat beside me. "You look like someone who's about to do something hard. I don't know what to do." You don't have to know. You just have to be honest with yourself. I exhaled slowly. What if helping him reopens everything I've tried to close? What if not helping him keeps the door locked on something that could have grown? I didn't answer. But I didn't leave the table either. That weekend, my parents hosted a small barbecue. Nothing formal. Just an excuse to gather while the weather held. Josh was there. So was Lauren. So were a handful of old family friends. Josh and I didn't make a scene. We nodded. Shared a plate of chips. Said nothing about money or weddings. At one point, our daughter tripped near the patio steps. Josh was closer. He caught her arm gently, steadied her. "You okay, little one?" She nodded. Then looked at me. "That's your brother, right?" I said yes. She said, "He's nice." And I couldn't argue with her. Later, after we put her to bed, I opened my laptop. Drafted a new message. "Josh. I'm not promising anything. But I want you to know I'm closer to a yes than a no. I don't want this to be about owing or earning. I want it to be about becoming different people, people who still try. I still don't know if helping is what will heal me. But I know ignoring you won't. I didn't send it. But I saved it. Sometimes, that's the first step." I didn't tell Josh I was coming to his next planning meeting. It wasn't formal, just him, Lauren, and their officiants sitting at a coffee shop, hashing out logistics. Lauren had mentioned it in passing at the barbecue, and part of me wanted to know what simple actually looked like to them. So I showed up. Josh blinked when he saw me. Not in shock, just in disbelief. Lauren smiled, pulled out a chair. "You can sit if you're staying," she said. I stayed. They were going over timelines. Guest arrivals. Whether to have chairs or just standing space for the short ceremony. Lauren wanted flowers but not centerpieces. Josh didn't want music during the vows. It wasn't extravagant. It was intimate. Real. And I saw, for the first time, how much he wanted to get this right. Afterward, we stood outside. The sky was turning that deep September blue that only comes with early evening. Josh said, "I didn't expect to see you. I didn't expect to come." He nodded slowly. "I'm glad you did. I am too." He didn't bring up the money. And I didn't offer it. But we stood there for a long time, in something that felt almost like peace. That night, I told Erica. She smiled. "You went because you needed to see him trying. Not just saying the right things, but doing them." "Yeah. And he's not perfect. But he's present." She kissed my cheek. "Sometimes that's enough." A few days later, I picked up the phone and called him. Not to give him an answer. Just to talk. We talked about everything except the wedding. He told me about a podcast he liked. I told him about our daughter's new obsession with horses. He laughed when I said she now insists we call her Captain Pony. It felt like we'd rewound the clock just far enough to remember who we were without erasing who we'd become. At the end of the call, he said, "No matter what you decide, I need you to know I get it." Really? I've lived with my screw-up longer than you've lived with the silence. And whatever happens now, I'm glad we're talking again. I didn't know how to respond. So I just said, "Me too." That weekend, my mom came over. She brought a homemade apple pie and a folder full of old photos just because. We sat at the kitchen table. Our daughter napped upstairs. Erica was reading in the next room. The house was quiet in that soft, weighted way it gets when there's something brewing underneath the surface. She said, "I know I've been pushy. With Josh. With all of it." I didn't interrupt. She continued, "It's just, you two are the most important people in the world to me. And I can't fix what went wrong. I just want to see you both whole again. Talking. Laughing. Showing up." "I want that too," I said. "But I don't want to skip the part where it hurts." She nodded. "Fair. Maybe I've always tried to skip that part." I smiled. "We all do." She reached into the folder and pulled out a photo. It was of Josh and me, Halloween sometime in the mid-90s. I was a pirate. He was a dinosaur. We were both laughing like big, open-mouthed, belly-deep laughter. I held the photo in my hand and stared at it for a long time. "Do you think it's too late?" I asked. She shook her head. "For what?" "For that." She leaned in, eyes gentle. "Not if you still want it." I sent Josh a message that night. "You said something the other day. About how showing up matters more than saying the right thing. I think you're right. I can't rewrite the past. Neither can you. But I want to try showing up too. So I'm going to help with the wedding. Not because you earned it. Not because I've forgotten. But because I want this to be the start of something different. Let's call it a gesture. Not a fix." He responded with one line. "I won't waste it." That weekend, I transferred the money. No ceremony. No fanfare. Just a line item in our budget. Erica didn't say much, just squeezed my hand. Later that night, I wrote one more thing in my notebook. Sometimes you help because you're ready. Sometimes you help because you hope the helping itself will make you ready. I didn't know yet which one I was. But I was helping. The wedding was in a week. Josh didn't tell me how he used the money. I didn't ask. It wasn't about control anymore, or at least, I was trying to believe that. But I wondered. Wondered what line of the spreadsheet my name filled. Wondered if it would feel like investment or sacrifice once I saw it in motion. He did ask me to be there. Not just as a guest, but to stand with him, not as best man. That title had gone to a college friend, but close. Close enough. I said yes. And meant it. That week, I caught myself remembering pieces of our childhood I hadn't thought about in years. Josh sneaking me cookies when I was grounded. The time we tried to build a treehouse and ended up nailing a plank to our dad's fence. How we used to fall asleep to the same album, passing the CD player back and forth on long road trips. Memory is tricky like that. It edits. It restores. It softens edges that once felt like cliffs. Erica noticed. You seem lighter, she said. I don't know if I am, I replied. But I'm trying to carry it differently. On Thursday, Josh called. Not texted. Called. Hey, he said. I wanted to ask you something. No pressure. I waited. He hesitated, then said, Would you do a toast? At the rehearsal dinner? My chest tightened. What kind of toast? Whatever you want. Doesn't have to be formal. Just something from you. He sounded afraid. Not of rejection, but of the weight of the ask. I said, I'll think about it. He said, That's fair. I stared at a blank page that night, pen hovering. I wrote one sentence, he didn't show up to my wedding, but I'm standing at his. Then I crossed it out. Too pointed. Next try, brothers don't always get it right the first time. Still too heavy. Erica found me there, still at the kitchen table, still with a blank page in front of me. She read over my shoulder, saw the scratch-outs. What do you want to say? She asked. That he mattered, even when he hurt me. Then say that. But how do I say it without it sounding like punishment? She smiled. Start with what's true. At the rehearsal dinner, there were strings of lights overhead. A long table covered in mismatched plates. Someone brought a guitar. People were full of stories, soft laughter, easy familiarity. Josh looked nervous. Lauren looked radiant in a pale green dress. My parents hovered like they were still waiting for something to break. When the toast started, I sat still, unsure. Then Josh caught my eye. Just a glance. Not a push. But it was enough. I stood. Everyone quieted. I cleared my throat. I don't like speeches, I started. I'm more of a background person. But Josh asked me to say something, and I told him I would. A few polite laughs. I kept going. We didn't get here the easy way. Not him. Not me. There were missed calls, missed years. Things we won't get back. People shifted. A few looked down. But we're here now. And here matters. Because it means we're still choosing. Still showing up. And that's what love looks like sometimes, not the grand gesture, not the perfect apology, but the quiet arrival. I looked at Josh. So here I am. And here you are. And I'm glad for that. There was silence. Then applause. Soft but real. Josh hugged me after. Really hugged me. Tight. Thank you, he whispered. I nodded. Don't make me regret it. He laughed. I'll try not to. That night, Erica and I lay in bed, holding hands in the dark. She said, You did good. I don't know if it changed anything. Maybe not, she said. But maybe it gave him something he'll carry. And maybe it let you set something down. I thought about that. About all the things I'd carried. And how sometimes, letting go doesn't look like forgetting. It just looks like standing still long enough to let someone meet you halfway. The morning of the wedding, I woke up earlier than I meant to. Sunlight spilled through the blinds in long, soft stripes, and for a moment, I let myself believe everything in my life had always been this quiet. This safe. But of course, it hadn't. Erica stirred beside me. You okay? Yeah, I whispered. Just thinking. She rolled toward me, eyes still half closed. Big day. For him, yeah. For you too, she said. You're showing up. That's not nothing. I kissed her forehead and got up to shower. Josh's wedding was held at an old family farm outside the city. Barn-turned venue, fairy lights strung between oak trees, hay bales tucked beneath a long wooden altar. It was simple. Intimate. Beautiful in a way that didn't try too hard. My parents were there, fluttering around like it was their second shot at doing everything right. Lauren greeted guests with a kind of grace that made me understand why Josh had worked so hard to make it work. When I found him, he was standing off to the side, fiddling with the cuffs of his shirt. "You made it," he said. I nodded. I said I would. He looked at me for a second, as if weighing whether to say more. Then, instead of words, he held out a box. Small, square, wrapped in a navy blue ribbon. I hesitated. "What's this?" He shrugged. "Not a grand gesture. Just something I found." I opened it. Inside was a cassette tape. Labeled in Sharpie Road Trip Mix 2001. I smiled. "Where did you find this?" "In Dad's garage. Buried under a stack of license plate frames and old PlayStation games." I turned it over in my hands. "We thought this was lost." So did I. There was a long pause. "Thanks," I said. "No," he said. "Thank you." He didn't mean for the gift. He meant for being there. And we both knew it. The ceremony was short. Sweet. No over-the-top vows. No theatrics. Just promises. Soft ones. I stood in the second row, behind the best man, off to the side where I could see Josh's hands tremble as he held Lauren's. He didn't look at me during the ceremony. He didn't need to. I was there. That was enough. At the reception, I danced with my daughter. Erica watched, smiling, arms crossed. My mom wiped away tears she pretended weren't there. My dad told someone a long story about the farm's history that I'm not sure was entirely accurate. Josh and I didn't talk much after the ceremony. Just passing nods. A clink of glasses. A shared laugh when someone dropped a plate and the whole room applauded. But the air between us was light. Something had changed. Something had returned. The night ended slowly. Guests peeled away in groups. The fairy lights hummed overhead. I found a quiet spot by the fence line, away from the music. Josh came to stand next to me. "I didn't know if you'd stay the whole night," he said. Neither did I. We watched the lights for a moment. "You didn't have to help," he said. "I know. But you did. And it mattered." I looked at him. "Just don't confuse forgiveness with forgetting." "I won't," he said. "I promise." Another long pause. "I want to be better," he said quietly. "Not just with you. With everyone. I think you already are. A little." He smiled. "That's something." "It is." When we got home that night, I took the cassette out of my pocket and placed it on the shelf next to the family photos. It didn't feel like a wound anymore. Just history. Just a memory I didn't need to fix. I stood in the living room alone for a while. The house quiet, everyone asleep. I thought about everything we'd been through, not just Josh and me, but the entire constellation of people caught in our orbit. I didn't know what would come next. If the closeness would stay. If he'd keep showing up. If I would. But I knew that I'd made a choice I could live with. Not clean. Not simple. But honest. And maybe that's the only kind of ending I believe in now. End.